You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for July 1st, 2025. Can you believe half the year is already gone?
No. How did that happen?
I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest the strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat feature, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we're streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by talking about last week's weekly tittle. And as Gayle said in our warm-up, this was a popular topic, clothing, and a popular tittle. We got a lot of tittle reports, so we're going to share two from YouTube. The title was Streamline Your Wardrobe. The assignment was to evaluate your wardrobe with a view toward freeing up space and streamlining your day-to-day choices. Let's hear from our participants live in Zoom and on Facebook who pulled out clothing items for donation this week. Please let us know in the comments. Donation or disposal, for that matter. PJ from Wiltshire shared her tittle report in a YouTube comment. PJ writes, "Thank you so much, Clutter Fairy. This really was the episode I needed. Listen to the podcast over the weekend, and this week I'll be taking 8 bags of clothing, shoes, bags, and old jewelry to the charity shops. There's so much I wanted to spread the donations around a little. Your podcasts always inspire me, but this one in particular has me feeling like such a weight has been lifted. As you say, there's now lots of air in my wardrobe. I admit I have kept a couple of gorgeous dresses, but I made a promise to myself to wear them this year or donate them in January."
That is really amazing to hear. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you were able to make so much progress. 8 bags. Air in the wardrobe is a wonderful end result. It's always what we're aiming for. And 8 bags of clothes and accessories out creates a lot of room. And if you kept a few fancy dresses on this pass, you've made room for them. So I think it's all good. I don't think you have to worry about it. And ultimately, it sounds to me like you're describing that you've had sort of a mental shift around it and maybe an emotional shift around it. And so if you're seeing it differently and you're able to release and clear more, good for you. I'm so proud of you. That is great to hear. Thank you.
Okay, YouTube viewer I am Jane 9628 also gave us a tittle report in a comment. Jane writes, "I recently retired from my career. I have clothes that are appropriate for my former professional life, but it is hard to let them go just yet. I keep thinking, what if I need to go back to work? Also, some of those clothes are cute and I still like them, but they honestly are not things I would reach for outside of the work setting. So I moved those items to a spare closet where I do not see them every day. Clothes are so tied to our identity. I need to focus on creating the next phase of my life rather than constantly seeing the old me each time I open my closet. There's now a gap in my main closet, which I can slowly fill with new items as I figure out what clothes I will need and want in my new life. If I have not touched those work clothes a year from now, I have vowed to take them to consignment/donation. Hopefully by then I will be comfortable and secure enough in my new life to let the work clothes go."
It was a great idea, actually. I thought to take those work clothes and put them in a different closet, which actually represents you retiring from that life. You went and put them in the non-standard closet, the non-main closet. And so You don't have to look at them and you don't have to wade through them while you're looking for something else to wear. And it reflects their status in your life that they've gone into the next closet where you're not going to look at them or go retrieve them very often. So I thought that was really smart. And I get it. Like it just you just retired and you're not quite sure that you can let go of the stuff. And I hear the maybe I might have to go back to work. And what if I need to wear these things to an event? Lots of times people tell me that. Like, what if I have to go to some, formal event and I need some fancier clothes? Okay, fine. But the truth is, you probably have way more professional clothes than you need to keep to address those few instances that you might need them. So I would pick, if you have 20 options, I would pick your favorite three and save those three and let the rest go. When you get to the place where you feel like you can let go of them, save a few against I have to go to a funeral, I have to go to a formal dinner, I have to go to make a speech, whatever you could imagine that would require some business professional clothing as the appropriate thing to wear. You just have to acknowledge that those are maybes. They're not actually expected to be happening right this second. And although that special event might be a possibility in the future, you won't need all of those clothes to do that. So I would pick the ones that to save the few that you feel really great when you put them on, like you feel like they fit well and they would work well and it would be appropriate to wear them in that situation, and then release the rest. And if you save three out of however many, so that you have a small little variety against the possibility of those events, then you'd be in good shape. And I get that whole you're evolving, that business you is the old identity, and now you have now you got to lean into my new retired version of myself, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to entertain myself, and what am I going to do to get back to the community, and how am I going to interact with my friends, and like what are you going to do with your time now that you have it? And so you've spent a long time earning it and earning this free time, and you need to fill it with stuff that you think are fun and fabulous. And so the clothes should support that. And the only thing that worried me as you were reading this out loud, there's a gap in your closet you can slowly fill with new items. And I thought, you don't have to do that. You could, in addition to going through your professional clothes, you can go to your other clothes, your more casual clothes, and thin them out and make sure that they are current and fresh for who you are, what size you are, what you're wearing right now, and make the space be filled with only what you are currently comfortable and happy to wear. And then if you need to supplement, if you give away a bunch of stuff and you find you don't have something, and you can fill it back in with by pieces, but don't aim to fill all that space back up. Like just
Well,
let's aim for the wardrobe level that feels like you have enough possibilities to live your life.
and I read that differently.
Mm,
I read it more as I have made space in my closet for the life I'm exploring
mm,
and the new life I'm designing for myself.
yeah.
And so go on, she said, which I can slowly fill. So it's a deliberate process.
Yes, I did get
And
that she's talking about making new choices.
well, and I'll bet Jane also, recognizes that fill, I can fill. Fill means um put things in here to the point where it's still usable, functional, and serving my needs, right? That's what we
Hmm.
mean by that's the slant we'll put on fill. How about
Right.
that?
That's the Clutter Fairy edition of Phil.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. There needs to be some air. That's the truth.
Okay, M says, although there were mountains of clothes in various places, I decided to work only on the pole in the closet I used the most. I thought I was going to remove one item that was not my style and one that was worn out. I don't think I found either, but I ended up removing more than 19% of the clothing that was hanging in that closet.
Wow, that's good. So you got rid of a bunch of stuff out of that process and made yourself some more air. Yay! I love that.
Well, and our tittles are never so much about doing exactly what we told you to do as getting into action and doing something
Right?
that you needed to do.
Right? That you've been thinking about and haven't started. So you started it and good job. And you got that part done. That's awesome.
Jacqueline says, I wear uniforms to work, so often I go from PJs to uniforms, then back to PJs. So I wanted to visit some items in my closet that have not been worn in a long time. This week I wore a couple of tops that hadn't been worn in a while. Also, there is a denim jacket that I have had since college but haven't worn in some time. I tried it on and I like it and it fits, but I chose not to wear it because I was wearing jeans and I thought it was too much denim. 99% of the time I wear jeans. When I used to wear the jacket often, my style was different and I wore skirts with prints or black pants. I think it's time to let it go.
There you go. That's a reflection of I used to love it, but now it doesn't reflect my style. My style has evolved, and so that's awesome. That's good to know. And it's you used it when it worked, and now it doesn't work, and you can move it on. So good job. That's exactly the kind of ongoing evaluation that we talk about a lot. It's like you don't have to ignore or make no decisions about your closet for 5 years and then suddenly go clean it all out. You can be doing that movement and that in and out process all along because in any moment in time, your your style and how you are dressed and what you're interested in is going to be shifting over time. So good thing to be doing it all along is what I'm saying. Good job.
Here's a question for you. M says over 13 inches of my closet rack is behind a wall that is only 2 inches from the edges of the hangers. This area is the reason some of my best clothes aren't being used. Ideas?
Whoa,
I know it's hard.
that's hard to visualize.
Yeah. So
Meaning the wall behind, where at the end of the hangers is
I
two
guess
inches
the
away.
the rack runs behind a wall, so you can't 2 inches from the edge of the hangers, you can't if, well,
Yeah, that is very confusing.
it's a
Clearly,
tight
it's a
space.
barrier and it's
Yeah,
difficult, right?
yeah.
So she says the shoulders of the, what does that say? The shoulders of the garments are,
Rubbing up against the wall.
oh,
Is that
that's
what's going
annoying.
on?
So that's that
Or
tight.
the shoulders of the garments are 2 inches from the wall. It's very tight. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I would uh, put different garments back there. Uh, if you tried to like put winter in there or anything heavier, it's just going to make the rub it against the back wall problem bigger. Uh, you might look at, if you have a category of clothes that are narrow or white, like you could put pants there so that the pants are hanging on the rod of a hanger, but there's not anything rubbing up against the wall. All hangers are different, right? And there's different sizes. So you can also investigate to see if there's a hanger that is a little shorter, that might fit a little bit better, that might be a little bit less irritating. But it's 13 inches wide. So you could also just so basically that's a foot. So if you think about hanging a shoe tree there, one of those shoe trees that are sweater containers that has a Velcro thing that wraps around the bar, and then it has boxes, containers drop below it, and you can put shoes in there or purses in there. I mean, because it's only a foot wide, I think that's a perfect sort of accessories nook, as it
Yeah.
were. It might be a good place to create a front-facing retrieval system, that you pull out towards you instead of having to worry about taking things off a hanger. That might make a better use of that weird space. That is uniquely
It's a
weird.
tough one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One more comment and we'll move on.
Okay.
Anita says our church had a rummage sale 2 weeks ago. So I got this push about a month ago. I worked the sale and so much clothing was donated that we were able to support several charities supporting men, women, and children with the items that were left. It's a real joy to see people thrilled with what we waste in our closets and drawers.
Isn't that amazing? And that's the kind of hookup that is invaluable. Where you guys had the sale and everybody brings stuff, and part of the promise of the sale is that then the church will gather what's left and go donate it appropriately. And so it's a win-win for the donors. If they
Yeah,
sell some things, fine. But if it's now it tricks them into getting out of their closet, and once it's out of the closet, it doesn't go back, then that's wonderful. And so that created that environment where Someone else would then be responsible for taking it off and finishing the chore of making the actual donation, and it made a huge difference for a lot of people, as you said. And so it was a great, that was a great, like, let's all get on this bandwagon and do it all at the same time, and here's the mechanism that we can distribute it later. And and you got the wonderful results of everybody brought stuff and there was a lot left over, and you benefited a whole bunch of people in one fell swoop. That's awesome. Good job.
All right. Let's move on to our main set of topics. We're doing short topics today, so we have several. How many
Yeah.
cleaning supplies do we really need? How much is too much? And what's the best way to organize and store cleaning products? Today, we're going to offer strategies and best practices for organizing and storing cleaning products, and also cover a couple of other short topics suggested by our viewers and listeners. So let's start with cleaning products.
Okay.
The inspiration for this topic was a couple of different comments that we received from viewers and listeners. C asked for our advice on how to organize cleaning products. C writes, my friend has a set for each floor. I have two vacuum cleaners, one for quick jobs, one for thorough cleaning. I got the latter for my daughter when she bought a new one, the idea being whichever one breaks down first won't get replaced. I wonder if anyone else has similar double items.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then Nina said, how many cleaning supplies do I really need? Several bottles ended up in the utility sink, much to my husband's chagrin when he wanted to wash something off. I have a cabinet and a rollaway cart next to the washer filled with cleaners. When I see something on sale, a really good sale, I think, geez, I need to get that now.
You know
Well,
what I'm going to say to
and
that.
my reaction right off the bat was, if you have to move stuff to use the sink, you have too many cleaning supplies.
It's too many. And and if you have to, if you think it's a really good sale and you have to get that now, then the answer is because your sink is full already. So cleaning products are one of those things that we collect because they're all useful to someone at least. Why have one when we can have three? And conveniently, the makers of the cleaners, the cleaning products, they sell their products in 2 packs and 3 packs to make your collecting easier. Go to if you go to Costco or Sam's Club, you can't just
You
buy
can't leave with
one
fewer than
cleaner.
two. Yeah.
Right, you gotta take a pack, and they have to be monster size. Like the volume that they sell at the grocery store is an ounce volume that is lesser than what they sell at the Sam's Club or the or the Costco. So you end up with a massive amount of product. And here's what I'm saying: the truth is, you can't use it up any faster than you actually clean with it. Plus, you try products that you don't actually like to use, and there's only so many toilets in the house. So, this is an easy collection to shrink down to what you actually use and rebuy when something runs out. If you don't like the product that you've tried, then offer it to a friend or to someone at the office. You can also responsibly recycle it at the toxic waste disposal in your town. So, offer the excess to someone who's cleaning houses for a living. It's just getting old and rusty sitting in your house or garage waiting to be used and likely never going to be used. So it's time to offload the excess and stage the rest for easy cleaning. Think of the technique of storing it where it will get used. That means that the bathroom stuff, the toilet cleaner, whatever you clean the counter with, whatever you're cleaning the mirror with, those things can be in the bathroom, and the kitchen cleaners in the kitchen. And then you have all purpose cleaners that for around the house. And you can put those in a tote bag or a tote carrier or some kind of cart because it is going to need to move around the house a little bit. One bottle of each product, no multiples. So I say this because the products are toxic and they have bleaching qualities, or they can melt plastic or stain the carpet. So if you keep them in a room where you're going to use them ultimately, you prevent spilling toilet gel with bleach on your beautiful bedroom carpet when you transport those chemicals around the house and the dog tackles you on the way. So it's a way to minimize the dangers of carrying those chemicals around if you store what you're going to use where you're going to use it, and you only store one at a time. And defy you to run out on any regular basis. If you clean the toilet once a week, sure, eventually you'll run out of toilet gel, but it's probably going to take you 4 months before you do. And then you can go to the store and buy a new one. And you don't need to have 27 backups, because the time between you cleaned last and you need to clean again the toilet is plenty of time for you to get to the grocery store one of those days and get some more toilet gel. So it's not the rush of, oh my gosh, I ran
Right.
out of Windex, is
It's not
not a fire drill.
it's not like running out of toothpaste or
Right,
toilet
right.
paper,
Or cat food.
right. Which
The
you
cats
will,
want food twice a day. They're not waiting on the food. But
right.
the toilet can wait a day to be cleaned while you go get toilet cleaner.
Right.
So
So this is not a category where you need a lot of back stock.
yes, exactly. Nobody's running out. And trust me, if you have a fire drill, you could go to your neighbor next door and say, "Hey, do you have a backup of toilet gel?" And you know they will, and they can give it to you, and you can go clean your toilet. You can help them get rid of their own stuff. My point is, you don't use it as often as you think. You only clean so often. You're not in there scrubbing the toilet every day with product. And you don't run out of those things very fast. You don't use that much of it when you do it. And so sure you do run out, but how often do you have to go and actually replace something? Once or twice a year? Come on. So you don't need 47 cans of anything. And if you have 47 cans of something, you need to be starting to get rid of it. And it is a hassle. It's not really something you can just donate at the regular place, but it certainly is something that you can share around to friends and family, to neighbors, to the maid, to somebody with a cleaning company. You can put them on next door and say, "Free to a good home. Here's a bunch of products I don't need anymore," and let somebody come and take them. Like, you can benefit all kinds of people, and you just have to be a little creative about how you distribute it. And if all that's too much of a hassle, box them all up and take them to the toxic waste disposal, and they'll probably put most of them out for free pickup. So it's not really, it's not an insurmountable thing to do. That being said, don't store them. I'm going to talk about storage for a minute now. You don't want to store them in a cardboard box or any kind of paper container. You use these bottles, spray this pump, you open the lid and pour, and then you end up with dribbles, and the product oozes down the side of the bottle, and it's going to drip onto whatever surface you place the bottle on. That's why the cabinet under the kitchen sink is always sticky or stained and the paint's peeling. It's because those chemicals are reacting with the surface it's sitting on and making a mess. So don't place those chemicals directly onto a wood surface, particularly a painted wood surface. Definitely not on the cabinet floor. You don't want them to just sit directly on there. And all the chemicals that you store need to be sitting in a tray or bin of some kind, so that the leaks pool on the bottom of a plastic or metal container or the tray, and they don't actually affect the cabinets. And the other reason I say that is because oftentimes these things get stored under sinks, bathroom sinks, kitchen sinks. And if you ever have a drip or a leak that you don't realize is happening right away, instead of a flood, like if you have some kind of slow drip that's happening in the back and it's dripping water, drip, 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 and those cans are sitting in the water or continuously getting wet, the rims of the containers are going to get rusty. There's going to be dampness that makes everything like it all starts to react. And so by the time you figure out a slow drip, more's the better if you have a container and you can see water pooling in the pan and there's a problem. And in the meantime, that problem hasn't destroyed your kitchen cabinet with, water mixed with chemical residue. And so make sure that they're sitting in something that is easy to move, but also contains any kind of drippage or spillage that might happen. And you really want them to have a tall enough surface on the side so that if something wobbles as you're pulling it in and out, that you don't have anything, topple over on the side, right? You don't have it hit the edge of a container and flip over and spill. So you're trying to help yourself prevent damage from dripping, from the residue as the product gets used, and from in the possibility that something will tip over and spill. So, when you put it back, make sure it's tightly closed. And if you do realize that some of the dispensers aren't very good. So they leak more than others. And so if you find that every time you use a product it's really leaky, then it may be part of your put away process that you wipe down the cans before you put them up. As you're spraying, Windex, pump, 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 you're getting leaks of Windex over and over again. After you've done your house cleaning and you made it all the way around the house, you can stop and wipe it down before you put it away back in its container, just to help you manage that spillage. They don't always design them. I think the engineers, they design for product dispersal, but they don't design it for prevention of residue. So I guess
Right.
what I'm saying. They don't clearly the guys that are designing them are not the ones that are using it to clean. I'm just saying they don't have any actual experience using the product. So store them in someplace cool and dry, and usually under those sinks is a okay place until you have a leak. And that's why you want to have them sitting in a container against the residue coming off the cans and against any potential leaks under any of those sinks with plumbing. And that at least will help you manage in any kind of leak and manage the cast off from the containers. Let's see, what else did I need to
Con-
say about that?
Connie re added the reminder: if you have little ones, put them in a higher cabinet or put on a lock if you want to keep them lower.
Yes, yes, yes. You
So
do
yeah,
definitely have to baby proof them if there's anybody that can go in and grab. You don't want anybody grabbing a container of Drano or Lysol, right? So, yeah, if it's a little kid, you got to have, child-proof locking on them for sure. After a certain age, those kids are avoiding those cleaning products like the plague. So it won't be an issue. It's while they still are young and don't have any judgment that you have to worry about that. I'll say again, sometimes people select, they have a random plastic shoebox or something, and they realize that the bottom in the shoebox or the container is not really flat. It's designed in a different way, and so it might be sort of curved a little bit, or sort of a little curved like a lake at the bottom. They're not always a flat container, so you want to be conscious of selecting something that is actually flat so that you're not setting those cans up. They're all top heavy, they're tall and narrow, and so they wobble easily if you have them on something that isn't really flat. So pay attention to that as well. I think that's what I have to say about cleaning. It is the funny thing about those products, man. Like her question, her comment about it's on sale. I must need to buy that. No, no, no. You need to let yourself run out of product and watch how long it takes you to run out. And you also need to filter all of the attempts of products. Like we've all succumbed to ads for new products. We've all seen stuff on the shelf and thought, ooh, that seems like a good idea, and went and bought it. So pay attention to what your population has. And if you have tried a bunch of stuff that you tried and you didn't like the results, don't let it sit there and deteriorate in place. Don't let it sit there and the chemicals start to break down and the can starts to rust. Send it on to somebody who can use it. Call a housekeeper, call a cleaning business, take it to a school. Somebody needs those cleaning products for free, and you can get creative about how you redistribute them, but don't leave them in your house because you're just going to ignore them and have a big storage problem. And if you are using a sink as storage for those products, clearly you have too many, and you need to dial that down so your husband can have the sink back. There, that's what I have to say about chemicals.
all right. I'll share one comment before we move on. Jane in California says, for the reason, well, I think it's California, it might be Canada. It's CA, but capital C, capital A, probably California, right? I'm sure she'll tell us. For the
Right?
reason Gail mentioned, I store everything under the sinks in plastic bins, including cleaning products, TP, and tissue boxes. When there's a
There you go.
product or water leak, it's been much easier to pull everything out having these containers. A leak happened last summer. Not fun, but easier to manage with everything contained.
Right. And even if the water has caused damage to the cans or the cleaning product containers, if it's contained in a tray or a bin, you take them out, you can clean the can, you can find out, if the if it's been going on long enough, the can is compromised, that kind of stuff. And we all know that we have cleaning products that have rusty bottom edges for some reason, that they've started getting rusty. And I'll tell you, that leaves the grossest, most irretrievable stain on any surface, is to put that rusty can down somewhere. So I will tell you, one of the things that I do is I get out duct tape or painter's tape and I tape over that rusty edge so that whatever's going on, I'm not getting rust on something else. It just has to last until I've used the product up and throw the can out. And so you can, cover up that BS and keep it from being a constant problem wherever you put the can down. And it may still be rusting. And in the meantime, concentrate on using that product up. Or if you don't want to actually use it up, then put it in the discard pile and get rid of it, because you don't need to have that rusty can leaving that round stain of rust everywhere you go. And we've
Um,
all done that, right? We've all opened up and picked it up and gone, damn, look at that rusty. Now I can't get it off.
Jane says, in answer to my question about Canada or California, both actually. My family is from Canada, but I currently live in California.
Oh, you tricked us. You're a dual citizen.
And
Okay.
happy Canada Day.
Oh, is that
Today
today?
is Canada Day.
Oh,
Yes.
Canada Day. All right.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Topic number 2 is emotional attachment. We had really lots of people mention different aspects of emotional attachment as ongoing problems in their efforts to declutter. So
Right.
let me share a few of the inspirational requests we got. Jesse said, I've pulled out some toys that my granddaughters no longer play with to donate, but then I think I should keep them for future grandkids that probably won't be. I know you've addressed the emotional attachments we have with our stuff, but any additional advice would be most welcome.
Okay.
Brenda B asked us to talk more about emotional clutter and how to deal with all the feeling, and especially the guilt dealing with the things given to us by deceased persons.
Okay.
And then Anita says bric-a-brac. Here in the UK, I find not many places take it. Sometimes it's hard as the bin is the only available option, but at the same time, bric-a-brac is often sentimental.
Mm.
Some help with this issue might be good. Um, and then I think we have time. She also mentioned, I find I have a few possessions of friends that have lent me things, but 5 or so years have elapsed. Do I give them back?
Yeah.
Usually DVDs, books.
So I would say, I'm just going to answer that real fast. I think that it's a good idea to send them a note, a text message, an email, and say, "Hey, I found this book. I realize I still have it. Do you want it back? Do you want me to send it back?" And they'll either come back and go, "Oh my gosh, no worries. I already forgot about it," and then you can do what you want. Or, "Oh yeah, I'd love to have that back." And then you guys have an excuse to interact and get together and have fun, right? So use it as a way to reach out and talk to your friends and just ask them. Don't assume that they want it. Ask them first. And if they tell you no worries, then you can say, "Okay, I'll move it along." And if they want it back, then you can make arrangements to do that. So I know lots of people, like after 5 years, that person has long since forgotten about that book. If it was super important to them, they would have said, "Hey, where's my book?" Like they would have come looking for it by then. So I think you're probably fine, but it's a courtesy to ask and see what they say, and use it as an excuse to see you and talk to your friend. There you go. Okay, so we're going to circle back to, so we've talked about, what about my granddaughter's toys? What about the things that I feel guilty about from deceased persons? And what about bric-a-brac and sentimental bric-a-brac? Okay, love that word. That was a fun word that came back. I don't often use that term. I think it's a more it's a term with older history. It's been around longer, bric-a-brac. But I liked it. It sounded very clever today. It just caught my brain there for a minute. Okay, so let's talk about the stuff related to grandkids. This is stuff that the kids have outgrown. You said that the kids have grown past playing with the toys, and it's really better to donate to a family that can use them and save them for another than you saving them for another batch of grandkids. And you're not really thinking of the future unlikely grandkids, though. That's not really what this is about. That's just a logical excuse to keep it. You're really just fondly remembering your grandkids playing with the toys that you provided, and you feel soft and loving about them being there with you, like they were there in your house playing with the stuff, and it was when they were little, and that's all kinds of warmth and love for grandparents, right? Like it's really it's just it's important to know that it's not about those toys, but it's about your memories of the kids. And it's important to separate that, because the stuff isn't what's important to you. It's that snapshot in time of those innocent kids who've grown up into something else already, and they went way too fast to get bigger. And you can just take some pictures of the toys instead as reminders, and let the toys go. It's really about what you're holding on to is your loving and warm memories of those kids being there with you playing. And so maybe keep, one of the toys that you have a lot of memories about that you think is really cute, but recognize that it's just you keeping them as a keepsake. You're not really keeping them for any other reason. And in the meantime, some kids can be playing with the toys if you release them. So um, I get it. Grandkids, they're the bomb, and they're so important to you. And if you don't need to keep the toys to remember your love for them or to remember those moments with them. That's not what the anchor is in your mind. It's those actual memories. And so savor the memories, release the toys. I hope that.
This is where we also can flip around. Andrew Mellon, right? Was it Andrew Mellon who said
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
your grandmother's teacup is not your grandmother,
mm-hmm.
right? Is that who it was?
Exactly.
Your granddaughter's toy is not your granddaughter.
Yes, yes, 100%. And the sentiment is exactly the same. It's like it's not about the object really. It's about the memories that the object reminds you of. And so honor those memories, write them down, lean into them, look at photos of the kids. Like you can feel those warm memories by looking at photos of that time, and calling up memories in your head of what it was like for them to be around there with you. And in the meantime, those toys can go on and be benefiting somebody else right now with kids that are age appropriate for the toys.
And before the toys deteriorate any
Yeah,
further,
yeah,
because
yeah. It's kids' toys. They're not made for longevity. They're not made to last forever, right? Because they really want those to break, so you'll have to buy more. So they don't really make them to survive for a long time. So let's talk about gifts from deceased people and how guilty it makes everybody feel. I've said it before and I'll say it again forever. Those deceased people really don't care what you do with that stuff anymore. They are not thinking about the stuff in their afterlives. It's not happening. They're thinking about you. They're thinking about the love they had in their life. They're thinking about the people that they love. The items handed down over generations are just an in-family way to pass on clutter. You're just passing the clutter on in your family unit. And unless you love it enough to use it, when you receive it, you don't have to keep it. You're the new owner. So ask the people who will inherit from you what they think about great grandma's 1920s bed frame and watch the annoyance that blooms on their face in real time. Photos are a good rescue here, and donate to someone who loves that style or needs a dresser. Don't overextend your furniture count in your house just to keep a hand-me-down piece unless you really, really love it. I suspect that the age of our audience, they have all experienced in some level the nature of my parent, my aunt, somebody in a generation above me has passed away, and I had to go clean out the house. And everything looked super useful, and I was sad about their passing away. And so I brought everything into my own house, and then they couldn't move in their house anymore. I know we've all had some version of that experience. And so you don't have to live in a garage sale. You don't have to keep your house as an estate sale waiting to happen. You can decide, I don't need or want to use all these pieces of furniture or all this stuff, and I can release it. I can send it on and let somebody else. The fact that my family touched it is wonderful, and not a good enough reason for my house to be overstuffed beyond use or function or peace feeling. You don't need to jam up your works just to say that you kept the dresser that grandma, great grandma Whoosie was it used it, right? It's not necessary. And I get that people feel like that genealogy, that heritage is super important. I get it. And there's other pieces to pick. Like you can select what you think of as the cream of the crop and still release excess to somebody else. It doesn't have to be part of your family story forever. And I know I get roasted on this occasionally because people think I'm not very sentimental or that it's like, it's not that. It's that I choose my own living environment over maintaining the through line from great grandma Mary to my house. Like, I don't need to have that heritage line coming through in my furniture. I don't like that style of furniture. I don't want that style of furniture. If you love those antiques and you want to keep them, then you don't need to keep your modern furniture. You can keep the inherited stuff and you can release the stuff that is new and current and has no attachment. I'm fine with that. You pick the furniture you want to live with. Just don't keep extra on top of what you like and use just because it came down from somebody. Somebody else in the family may want it. You can offer it up to be relocated to another family member. Whatever you need to do to redistribute it, but you do not have to live with it, and you don't have to feel guilty about it, because that person, great grandma Mary, who used that dresser, is not up in heaven going, "Look at them, they're not keeping my dresser." Like that is not what they're occupied with, I'm sure. And so you can argue with me about that. You can think that they're, twitching in heaven about the dresser, but I don't think they are. That's
Well, I'll interject or a reminder, we're not ever trying to talk you into getting rid of something just for the sake of getting rid of something.
mm-hmm.
If you love it, if it is a welcome reminder and you want to see it all the time, keep it by all means.
100%.
But what we are talking about is don't make your house a museum to 10 different people who've gone on before us,
Well, and don't make it a
and don't
museum that then overstuffs the house.
and that makes it impossible for you to do the things you want and need to do
To function
every day,
comfortably.
maybe you can take your museum and reduce it to just a shrine, this
There
the
you go.
top of this particular table is where all the stuff from mom and grandma
And great
resides,
grandma,
not
yeah,
the whole house.
exactly.
And at some point you might decide that the maintenance and dusting and upkeep of those things is too much, and maybe you can whittle your shrine down to an archive of photos of those cool things so that you'll
Hmm.
always be able to remember them and show them to other people in the family who might care about them, but you don't have to have them taking up space that you need for other things.
Exactly. 100%. I mean, that is always our bottom line. We want you to be able to function easily in your house, to live peacefully in your house, and to feel refreshed. And, like your home is your sanctuary where you can come home and recoup and recover from whatever's going on in your day in your life. And that place needs to be at a certain volume to be functional and supportive of you. And when it gets overly full, then it's too hard to function and your house becomes another problem on the list of problems instead of the place where you go to recuperate and recharge against the other problems in your life. We don't want your house to be one of those problems. And so that's always what we're trying to aim for. Okay. Are we over that one topic for now?
I think
Now,
so.
I'm going to move to bric-a-brac. My happy bric-a-brac sound. It just sounds very clickety clack, doesn't it? So bric-a-brac is definitely a relocation problem. It is hard to pass it on sometimes, but you can try the local antique stores. You can try resale stores. You can try creative reuse stores like Texas Artisan we have here. Sometimes they end up taking bric-a-brac because it can be reused. It can end up in a piece of art. It can be broken apart to be something else. And so that they take some of that stuff sometimes. You can also go on Facebook and put them on a Facebook page to see if anybody that follows you or that you know or interact with in your broader circles, your social media circles, wants to claim any of the things that you have. or offer better items to a charity auction. Maybe somebody's raising money for a charity and they're having an auction, and you can put some nicer things in an auction. You can send photos by email to a bunch of your friends and see if anyone actually wants to take something. Sometimes you don't realize that somebody has been admiring something in your house and they're happy to take it if you want to get rid of it. Or support an organization that's helping families resettle after a fire or disaster of some kind. There's often charities that provide that sort of disaster recovery support with they so that they refurnish a house, and so they have furniture, but then they also take decor, and you can offload some of that stuff to a place that's helping people rebuild their houses. So if you're in a hurry, you can put them in a box, take a photo, and post it online with your neighborhood group and caption it "free to a good home." And it'll likely walk off under somebody else's power if you, put it at the end of the curb in a box and then post online that it's out there in your neighborhood and people will come looking. So I've had a lot of stuff, urban recycling at the end of the curb is a thing. And if as long as you put it out there so people can see it, and you put something on social media to tell them it's there, somebody will come and walk away with it all. It won't be any problem at all. So, and again, take those photos if you feel attached to some of the bric-a-brac. Take a photo, keep the photo,
And
and send the thing on.
if you got even just one or two modestly collectible items
Mm,
in there, then pitch it to people who do resales for a living. People
mm-hmm.
who are always looking for stuff to buy used and resell in shops. Um, and just make it a condition that you have to take this whole box.
Right.
It's $25, but you have to take all of it.
You
And
have
then
to take the whole box.
they'll sell what they can sell and donate or throw away the rest, but it's not your problem anymore.
Right. So somebody said the HOAs won't let us leave stuff outside. So here's the truth. If once you put it on next door or someplace like some kind of neighborhood community board like that, you put it out there and there will be people there in 30 minutes. It's not sitting around.
But
Like
you do
you
but you do have to be careful in some HOAs there's that one neighbor who watches everybody like a hawk and
well, right, and who's twitchy.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
truth is, if you take a picture of it and put it online and then go put it outside, it will be gone in an hour. At least that's true in Houston. Like as soon as I post something online, I'm immediately getting, is it still there? Yes, it's still there. Come and get it. And people make a run for it and come over and get it. And so when I moved out of the other house, I had a collection of things from the house and the garage that were not throwaways. I wanted to give them away, and so I had a day where I went over there. I took pictures of everything outside. It was in the garage basically. I took pictures of it all, posted it, and said, "These are free. If somebody wants to come get them, I'm here right now between this time and this time." And that stuff was gone in 90 minutes. Everything, including pieces of furniture, people came to take. Somebody came to grab this piece of furniture and it wouldn't fit in his car, and he was like, "Oh, I can't take it after all." Fine. And somebody else came right behind him and took it anyway. Like it will disappear. And so you can like leave it out for a few hours and be present for it, and then take whatever doesn't get picked up, take it back in. And you'll likely get more comments later. Is that still here? Yeah, it's still here. So you can come and pick it up at this time. And you can sort of work around it. It's not going to hang around all afternoon, I'm telling you. Unless you live in a more rural area or you live on a street where there's not a lot of traffic, generally a neighborhood where people are driving up and down the street and can see it and it's not hard to get there. Um, Anything that you post online is going to be gone in a minute. Oh, and
Pat's
Pat
got it.
has a question. Hey,
Go ahead,
Pat.
Pat. There you go.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Just put it out there in an Amazon box and they'll think it was delivered instead of being picked up.
Oh, you are smart. That is excellent idea. They'll think it's a delivery. Absolutely. That's a good job. That's a great idea. So take a picture of the stuff in the box and then take a picture of the closed box. And when you post it online, say, "Here's the box. Here's what it is. If you want it, come and get it," and let somebody come in. They'll think it's a delivery. You are so clever. I love that. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to our last topic. This one's a little bit niche, but I thought we'd talk about it anyway because there may be people who are interested and just
Mm,
haven't expressed that interest to us yet. The inspiration was from Laurie, who asked, "How do I judge the market I'm in to see if people really want to declutter and if I should start my decluttering business?" It is more rural, but they still have stuff in Kingman, Arizona.
absolutely, they do.
Yeah,
So
they've
I
got
have a
stuff
lot to say about this,
everywhere
right?
you go.
Right? They do have stuff everywhere you go. So first, you can start by going to napo.net and use their Find a Pro feature. It's a drop down to go to Find a Pro. It's a search engine, so you can search by your zip code and see who's working in your area. Connecting with other organizers can help you understand the market better, and mutual support helps everyone. I always say part of why I'm in NAPO is because it's a very collaborative environment instead of competitive. There's not enough organizers for all of the clutter there is in the world. And so you really don't have to worry about somebody stealing your business because there's way more clutter than that. So connect with those people that are actually doing it in your area. And you may find that you're doing things that other people don't like to do and vice versa. And so maybe you don't like to do garages and somebody else does. Maybe you like to do office work and somebody else doesn't. And so you can be referral partners and refer business away. Like, oh, I got a call for a garage, but I don't do garages here. I'm gonna refer you to my friend here, and they can do the same. And so you can each support each other to do the kind of work that you prefer to do that way. I would also Google professional organizer Kingman, Arizona, or professional organizer near me just to see who's out there with an online presence offering services. So that can help you see what others are doing and where they're doing it, and how close they are, that kind of stuff, just to get an idea of who's in the market and has an established presence there.
Well, in the search on NAPO only showed two organizers within 75 miles, and both in Henderson, which is in Nevada, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, right.
So, and you know, I can't imagine anyone wanting to drive further than 75 miles to
To get
do a
business.
project, right?
Right, 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 exactly. So I think it helps you to see who's out there working and doing, and if there's a if there's a whole bunch that you don't know about that are actually out there doing it already or not. But it's a good way for you to get a feel for how much activity there is around this already. If there aren't really any people in your area, then it's a fresh, untapped market and you can dive in. If there are others out there, it means the market exists and you can join the service provider. So, um, any of the results that you get from this search wouldn't impact my advice to go for it either way. It just tells you, how established or fresh the market is when you get out there. Next, I want you to make use of your communities because rural communities are smaller and therefore more tightly knit, and they already are used to banding together for support and for entertainment. And the feeling is much less anonymous than in a large city. So you can tap into those existing networks to spread your outreach to clients. For example, there's moms groups at church that get together and meet during the day, and they always want to have speakers come talk to the moms. You can go and talk to the moms about organizing. You can give a talk about organizing at a local library, probably for free. Libraries host those kinds of events, and it probably doesn't cost you anything to go rent one of the rooms in the library to have an event and let them post it on their calendar and see who shows up and listens to you talk about it.
You, you could use the Clutter Fairy model and start a meetup group
Yeah,
because
exactly.
often libraries provide free meeting rooms
Yeah,
that
like
can
let you
be,
have space.
that as long as you're not charging admission, you can typically do your event for free in a library.
Yeah, and having a meetup group where you are there to answer questions from people about how to organize is a great way for you to establish credibility and to show your expertise to people and let them come and get used to you and feel comfortable with you before they invite you into their home. And so that's a great idea. Build partnerships with house cleaners, with real estate agents, with estate planners. Those are all people that are serving markets serving clients that might need your services in addition to what they're providing. And so do things together, plan joint events with those professionals to gauge interest. You can set up a booth at a fair and play a sorting game to get people started talking about what they would find useful, what kind of services would be fun. Is there a senior community center that gives programs? We have those here that they're not like residential facilities, they're city run senior community centers that people come to for education and activities. And so you can be one of the activities and go speak at the senior center. I'm sure they'd be thrilled to have you. And you can talk to those that senior population about downsizing and disposing of their stuff, right? The rural audience is a smaller audience, but there is definitely clutter everywhere. And you just have to plug into the issues that rural residents are dealing with and help them solve those problems. So there's unique problems of organizing that are rural based, I'm sure. So figure out what the issues are and help them solve those problems. Maybe it's a lack of ways to easily donate things. Maybe it's larger properties to manage with generations of inherited stuff to dispose of. In general, a rural population probably skews older now. So having support with downsizing and getting off of a family property would be a big help to a family if they were trying to get grandma to come off the farm and go someplace that's safe, and they're they're struggling to negotiate with her, and you can come in and say, hey, I can help you with this downsizing project. Let's work on moving you someplace that's more, conducive to your health issues. It might be something that you could do in that market. You could host a big exchange fair and let people come and trade their goods, just like she was talking about the church rummage sale earlier. That kind of thing where you create an event where people come and bring their stuff to sell or trade. And then you have a charity stage to accept the rest of what isn't traded. And you can have the charity be on site so that people can talk and interact with them and find out about them. And it's a way for them to promote their charity and for you to become the expert in the field by that level of exposure. And then they know that you're the person that helps people get rid of stuff, right? If you can find a way to connect to the rural residents with things that they want to release and release them to find somebody to release the goods to, you can really become an invaluable part of the community if you act as that intersection. Maybe it's that you just provide the service of, I will take all those donations for you. I will drive the 50 miles to wherever they have to be donated. And you just agree to do it for, you take a carload of several clients worth of stuff and you take it all. You're the one that makes the trip. And it's part of what you agree to do. You take that disposal issue off their plate. So I think that there's definitely the need for the services. And I think you have the built-in community networks because that's how those small communities function with their own their own small gathering and interaction networks around church, around professional associations, around town events that gather people together for fun and interaction. And so those structures exist out there, and you just have to plug into them to make yourself visible to clients.
Okay, we are out of time.
Oh my goodness, we are. Sorry.
Yeah, and we started a moment late, so we can finish up our usual business. But we have a special announcement this week that we cannot skip.
Okay.
We want to say a special thank you to PJ for becoming our newest Patreon supporter.
PJ, thank you so much. That's so awesome.
If you would like to help us, if you would like to help support our efforts with a recurring monthly donation of any size, please visit cfho.com/Patreon. Your contributions help us offset the costs of producing the weekly webcast. Thank you for your support, PJ, and all our generous underwriters.
We appreciate you so much.
We're going to be back next week, Tuesday, July 8th at the usual time, and the topic is going to be reality checks. We're going to do a survey for that. We're going to talk about questions to ask yourself to help get a reality check as you're trying to declutter.
All right.
And organize.
I'm ready.
So join us next week. Gayle, why don't you give us the tittle?
The tittle, clean up the cleaning products. This week's assignment is to check the status of your supply of cleaning products because I know you got too many. Collect all your cleaning supplies, or all those for a specific area of your home in one place to inventory what you possess. And won't you be shocked when you find out? Dispose of any products that have expired or that you don't use anymore, however you wish to dispose of them. Check for leaking or damaged containers and discard them safely. And this is where if they're leaking and it just needs to be tightened down, fine. And if they have leaked and you just need to wipe them down, fine. And otherwise, if you think that the container's really compromised, don't try to transfer them to a new container. That kind of, then you're just kind of playing with fire. So decide whether it's completely compromised and you have to let go of it, and then discard of it. Evaluate your storage spots to make sure they're cool and dry and protected from sources of heat and sunlight, which is never good for cleaning products. Organize products into whatever storage system works for your need, grouping them by product type or usage area. So bathroom stuff in the bathroom, kitchen stuff in the kitchen, other stuff in something that's portable or movable. Confirm that any containers you're using to group items are in good condition. So you want the container to be not cracked, not leaking, not falling up, not brittle, not falling apart when you start using it. And then return the revamped containers to their designated storage areas and come and tell us about it when you're done, because we want to know who had the most cans of cleaning products they had to throw out. That's what I want to know. Who's going to win that prize?
Okay. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup.
Meetup.
You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or subscribe to our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks, everybody. I hope that if you are watching on YouTube that you like and subscribe to us so that you get notifications when we post, which we mostly do every week. So be on the lookout for us. And we hope that you're enjoying the content that we provide. We'll be back next week with some new stuff. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.